the mountains and the forests more deeply.
We really look back in time and we look at different groups, especially the Red Zao people out here. I can definitely see that these are the kind of folks that are really one with nature, that are really bound to it. I feel like nature, the trees, the forests, and the mountains are definitely in their soul.
In 2025, Vietnam's achieved GDP growth of over 8%. This is the highest growth rate in Asia forecast by the World Bank this year. Vietnam has subsequently become a promising investment destination. Between 1993 to 2025, more than 262 billion US dollars in remittance have been transferred back to the country, a figure equivalent to the total amount of FDI disbursed during the same period.
With breakthrough economic growth, Vietnam has been and continues to become an attractive investment destination for many investors, including overseas Vietnamese.
To achieve high growth, we must mobilize a very large volume of resources, including human, material, and financial resources.
With breakthrough economic growth, Vietnam has been and continues to become an attractive investment destination for many investors, including overseas Vietnamese.
Vietnam is emerging as a bright star in the region, becoming a potential country for FDI enterprises as a sweet star food cluster for overseas Vietnamese to invest in. Vietnam currently ranks among the top 10 countries worldwide receiving the largest remittance inflow. Ho Chi Minh City is the destination for nearly 60% of the country's total remittance each year. Over the past 5 years, remittance transferred to Ho Chi Minh cities have constantly recorded fairly strong growth, with an average annual growth rate of 7.6%. According to statistics from Region 2 branch of State Bank of Vietnam, with stable growth in 2025, total remittance to Ho Chi Minh cities are projected to reach 10.5 billion US dollars, an increase of approximately 10% compared to 2024. Of this amount, Asia accounts for 50%, while the Americas account for around 30% of total remittance.
Income levels of overseas Vietnamese workers and communities remain basically stable. The demand for financial support for relatives in Vietnam continues to be maintained. At the same time, international remittance services have become increasingly convenient, with reduced cost, contributing to higher remittance inflows through official channels.
In 2024, Ho Chi Minh cities implemented a remittance attraction scheme, including improving the qualities of remittance transfers and paid-out services at credit institutions and economic organizations for recipients. Among those transferred to Ho Chi Minh cities, remittance companies account for the majority, approximately 74.2% of total inflows in the area, while transfer through credit institutions account for 25%.
To support overseas Vietnamese in transferring money in the most convenient and secure manner, we have been implementing comprehensive solutions to shorten geographical distances and enhance information security, cooperating with more than 40 reputable remittance companies worldwide. Overseas Vietnamese can send money from anywhere. We synchronize all information data with our partners from the very beginning through direct system connections.
We focus on door-to-door cash delivery solutions, allowing elderly people to stay at home while still receiving money sent by their children. In addition, we also offer preferential fee policies to attract remittance inflows. We do not compete based on profit, but by maintaining customer trust so that they feel secure sending money back home.
As part of the remittance attraction scheme, Ho Chi Minh City is also developing policies to issue diaspora bonds to develop transport infrastructure, particularly 355 kilometers of urban railways by 2035. Passed by the National Embassy, the resolutions on special mechanism for Ho Chi Minh City has opened up by unprecedented access and is expected to create breakthroughs for the city during the final sprint of public investment disbursement, especially in transport infrastructure development. To date, Ho Chi Minh City has identified 32,000 hectares of land to develop the transit-oriented development model, urban development oriented towards public transport, with transport hubs serving as population concentration points.
Using the fat to fry itself, meaning using the resources generated from infrastructure investment projects to reinvest, finance, or offset the investment costs of those infrastructure projects.
The city's development space will be expanded to connect and develop growth poles based on transport and logistics development, particularly through major transport corridors.
According to economics experts, remittance are an important economic pillar, while FDI depends on incentive policies and can withdraw when profits decline. Remittance only flows into country and are not bound by political or economic commitments. Currently, approximately 15 to 20% of total remittance are directly invested in real estate, contributing to improved liquidity and market stability. This is also an investment channel favored by overseas Vietnamese and Vietnamese origin international experts due to its safety and long-term asset accumulations value.
During the process of project development, we have observed that for projects in Phú Quốc, foreign and overseas Vietnamese customers account for nearly 20%. This is a highly potential customer group for the products we are designing. We aim to create bridges to introduce foreign investors and overseas Vietnamese to better understand procedures in a transparent manner, access clear financial institutions, and thereby attract their investment back to Vietnam.
According to data from the Vietnam Associations of Realtors Institute for Market Research and Evaluations, there are currently more than 10 million Vietnamese living in 200 countries and territories globally, who approximately 3.8 million have reached retirement age. This group possesses significant financial capacity and a desire to return to Vietnam to live and invest long-term, leading to a strong increase in housing ownership demand in the near future.
The real estate sector accounts for up to 40% of GDP value contribution. When real estate demand is continuously stimulated, foreigners and overseas Vietnamese will see prospects for asset appreciation and economic stability. The combined effect of these factors will attract investment capital from overseas Vietnamese and the international community.
Overseas Vietnamese entrepreneurs are now not only companions but also strategic bridges in developing Vietnam's private economy globally. Recently, within Vietnam's startup ecosystem, an investment fund founded by the global Vietnamese community comprising 40 members from 5 continents was launched. The first project announced by this fund is an investment in an AI company founded by Vietnamese entrepreneurs in Da Nang.
We don't just invest into Vietnamese startups, but we actually invest in any Vietnamese founder worldwide. We are a professional network. We have close to 1,000 members worldwide. A lot of them are successful, very ambitious in their careers. And now they want to support Vietnam. They want to support the ecosystem. They want to support fellow Vietnamese. And so what we do is we enable them to invest into promising Vietnamese founders. We make it easy for them to get started to invest by writing small tickets of $1,000 or more. And we pull this together into a ticket of 25 to 100K and invest this into any Vietnamese or overseas Vietnamese founders worldwide.
From the investment strategy stage, we must select industries and sectors that are truly core for investment. These create changes in economic structure, technology, and production methods, thereby generating breakthrough growth efficiency.
Each year, nearly $16 billion in remittance is transferred back to Vietnam. By December 2025, there were 457 overseas Vietnamese projects from 35 countries and territories, with a total registered capital of $1.729 billion invested in Vietnam. These investment activities not only create jobs and train human resources, but also promote technology transfer and support Vietnamese goods in expanding into international markets.
Improvements in investments stem from the continued enhancement of the domestic investment environment, increasingly streamlined policies, and administrative procedures, along with preferential mechanisms, allowing overseas Vietnamese investors to choose to apply the same investment conditions as domestic investors.
Where land is good, birds will settle. Efforts to streamline administrative structure and complete infrastructure projects have created a new attraction for Vietnam. FDI attractions has shifted towards a model of cooperations for mutual development. This establishment of free trade zones in international financial centers this year is clear evidence of these efforts. Surpassing all forecasts, FDI disbursement in 2025 reached a record level of over $23 billion. More importantly than the figure itself is the qualitative shift.
It is necessary to create greater proactiveness and expand the scope of decision-making authority for local governments. Local authorities should be granted the right to negotiate, to seek ways to attract, and even to provide support for FDI enterprises investing in less attractive localities. With complementary and facilitative support from local governments, FDI enterprises will be able to calculate and recognize tangible benefits, encouraging them to participate and invest.
For the first time, the free trade zone model in Phóng and Da Nang has entered a pilot operation phase with outstanding preferential tariff mechanisms and one-stop administrative procedures. These FTZs are emerging as valuable institutional laboratories where goods and technologies can circulate freely and compete on equal footing with leading logistic hubs in the regions.
Haiphong City's free trade zone and the special policies it has, which were authorized by the National Assembly to pilot, indeed offer very substantial incentives, perhaps the most favorable incentives currently available in Vietnam.
This year, 2025, marks a bold step forwards as the proposal to establish International Financial Center in Ho Chi Minh City and Da Nang was officially codified into law. The synergy between free trade and financial services is transforming Vietnam into a safe and profitable destination for global capital flows.
On average, over the next 5 years, the economy will need to mobilize between $250 to $260 billion per year. This figure does not yet include the additional capital required for contingency reserves to respond to climate change or to stimulate green transition and digital transformation. At present, we have around 5 to 6 capital mobilization channels. We must also pay greater attention to mobilizing new financial resources.
Despite the global trade slowdown, Vietnam's total import-export turnover in 2025 reached a historic milestone of $900 billion. Vietnam has officially entered the top 15 countries worldwide in terms of trade scale.
Đến thời điểm này, đội ngũ của chúng ta đã chỉnh tề, hàng lối đã ngay ngắn, cả dân tộc cùng hành quân vươn tới tương lai rực rỡ của đất nước. Vì hạnh phúc của nhân dân, vì một Việt Nam phát triển bền vững.
Unblocking the hidden investment flows is creating a new stable runway for the company to take off a new bright phase of development.